IONNA opens 2 new rechargeries. Tesla opens a 48 stall at a Sizzler in San Jose, California. And a brand new BP Pulse Giga Hub has been spotted. Let's get into it. So I'm here at the IONNA Gardner Rechargery Drivers Lounge. Behind me is the market, getting ready to do a recording with a whole bunch of other YouTubers at other rechargeries. I figured this would be a good spot also to record the weekly DC fast charger update. And before we get into it, there's multiple things going on, but I had a viewer chime in about what it looks like when the flash mob goes into full choir mode. In China, their DC fast charger is completely wide open with the number of installs. He said right now in the nation of China, there are not 3.992 million public chargers, of which 1.834 million DC fast chargers. Of those are DC fast chargers. And by the way, this is YouTuber John Baker who is providing this information. And between January and April 2025, 413,000 chargers have been added. So completely dwarfs what we have here in the United States. But once you get to that flashover boiling point and everyone gets the same great idea at the same time, locations like this start to pop up all over the place, in every convenience store operator, fast food store operator, and other form of retail starts putting them in all at the same time. And that's when you start running into sheer production volume issues. So hopefully we'll be there at some time soon. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the update. As I mentioned, IONNA opened 2 new stations, one in Lewisville, Texas, and this one kind of snuck in quietly without much fanfare from IONNA. And then the Obitz, Ohio location opened as well. Both of them are running, obviously, Alpitronic hyperchargers, HYC 400s at 400 kilowatts, the same things that are surrounding me right now in about a 365 perimeter. So a 360 perimeter. So plenty of chargers going in. Now we have Texas and Obitz, Ohio, which is close to the Reynoldsburg rechargery. So IONNA seems to be on a approach of when they get a rechargery in the ground, they don't move on to a different area. They seem, if they find success in a certain geographic area, they seem to pile on and start building more and more in the same geographic area, because Obitz and Reynoldsburg are pretty close to each other. And there's other areas of the country, like the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, where there's multiple rechargeries going in, and also the Pacific Northwest. So, and obviously California, there's currently 10 on the build list in the Los Angeles and greater San Francisco areas. So that seems to be a pattern that they're following, and it could be that they just have way more rechargeries on the build list that we're aware of, because we are only able to find the ones that are spotted through permitting or just people spotting them under construction and things like that. And there could be just a vast amount of other ones that we're unaware of, and very likely that is the case. Now let's move on to Tesla. They installed 16 new stations with a stall count right around 200 stalls plus to the Tesla supercharger network this week alone, which is very significant, not uncommon for Tesla on their mission to have complete dominance in stall count throughout the United States. And they're definitely far in the lead and not likely to be caught up by anyone anytime soon. It basically takes everyone else combined in order to equal the Tesla supercharger network. But one thing that has been noted in the past week is that they're very large. It was going to be the largest supercharger station in the world, 200 stalls in Central Florida, has quietly been removed from their build list, and no construction at all has occurred there. So it could be that they're reversing that plan and moving their efforts elsewhere. So unfortunately, the 200 stall one at Yeehaw Junction in Central Florida looks to no longer be on the build list. Similarly, IONNA had a listing of a rechargery in Warner Robins, Georgia on Interstate 75, which had a lot of anticipation for, and construction started, the fence was up, and then the fence got blown over in a storm, and then the fence had its IONNA branding removed, and just this past week it was spotted with construction crews on the location basically filling in all the holes and putting the asphalt back in and removing the fence and basically clearing on out. So it kind of looks like for some reason IONNA has reversed the build at Warner Robins as well. And we're not really sure the details around it. It's still listed on the IONNA website as a coming soon rechargery, but from all accounts, it looks like they've cleared out of there. So going on with IONNA, not on their coming soon list on their website, is a new rechargery in Daytona Beach, Florida, which went from dirt getting turned to Alpitronic hyperchargers in the ground, all ready to be energized in the space of about 2 weeks. A very fast build at a terrific location immediately adjacent to the fabled Daytona International Speedway. So I've been there before, and the Speedway is very close to Interstate 95, so it's a really good place to put a charging station, because Interstate 95 is heavily traveled from people going into Florida, both going to Orlando, because it's north of the I-5 intersection, and also people going into South Florida as well, like West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale, and Miami-Dade. So really good spot for a charging station. EVgo put a charging station there, and I think there is a very large Tesla supercharger station there, and also a Electrify America. So it'll be a good spot to have IONNA fill in as well. Pilot Flying J was putting in charging sites on in Wyoming, but they also had a spotted site on Interstate 70 in Colorado, because IONNA has been building stations on Interstate 70 in Kansas and kind of filling in the dark spots there. But there was a good stretch between Denver and the Kansas border in Colorado on Interstate 70 where there wasn't a lot of charging. But Pilot Flying J has now been spotted building a canopy pull-through site on Interstate 70 halfway between Denver and the border with Kansas in Lemon or something like that, Limon, Colorado. So that definitely fills in the gap. And as I mentioned, it has a canopy and is immediately off the interstate. Last week, I reported that BP Pulse put in 2 new gigahubs at international airports in the state of California, at San Francisco International and LAX. The actual opening of those stations is a little bit unsure. I see in PlugShare that San Francisco seems to be fully open, and LAX, I got an email this week with a invitation to the load test event at the LAX site, and it said try the station before is open to the public. So I don't think it's officially open to the public yet. That event is occurring early next week, and then likely after that it'll be open to the public. But regardless, there was another BP Pulse GigaHub spotted outside of Seattle International Airport. Let's see. It was by PlugShare user Jolton, and it looks to be 24 ports fed from 12 HYC 400s and immediately adjacent to the airport. So BP Pulse seems to be on a building spree, and there's other locations that BP Pulse is getting spotted with builds occurring. So even though their budget has been cut, there's still no indication of their inertia slowing down at all. So I'm not quite sure how this is all transpiring. Maybe they found alternative sources of funding or something, I'm not sure, but their builds are still proceeding with very nice looking marquee locations with driver lounges like this one here. There's a very nice station going in Duarte, California that has a nice driver's lounge like this. The LAX GigaHub also has a driver's lounge. Also this week, Bill Farrow, the Chief Technology Officer at Perrin, put into LinkedIn a post indicating that the Alternative Fuels Data Center database was going to be going through cleanup with a new policy in place that if your station is listed as temporarily unavailable, which is one of the statuses for a station, for more than 6 months, the Alternative Fuels Data Center will automatically remove that station from the station locator that they have on their website. I'm not sure if it'll be removed from the database or if they'll just mark them as not visible on the station locator, one or the other. But it's nice to see that the Alternative Fuels Data Center staff are now looking at data integrity with more seriousness, because lots of times it was a bit of a free-for-all there. And a couple of years ago, the data set was pretty messy. But I think there's a lot more people starting to rely on the data. And so more eyes are requiring necessity for clean data, and that's helping improve the situation dramatically. The Rivian Adventure Network opened 2 stations, one in Nags Head, North Carolina on the Outer Banks, which is a very remote area. There's actually only 3 ways into the Outer Banks. One is across the Kitty Hawk Wrightsville Memorial Bridge. And then there's another way through Roanoke Island into the Outer Banks. The third way is you have to take a ferry from the south end to the Cape Hatteras area. And so it's very difficult to get to, but once you're on there, it's very picturesque and a terrific location to take a vacation. There just hasn't been much charging, but Rivian is showing up and opened a brand new location in Nags Head at a shopping center. I think it's called the Outer Banks Shopping Plaza or something like that. Additionally, Haley, Idaho got a new RAN station. As I mentioned, Tesla opened 16 stations, one of which was a 48 stall at a Sizzler in San Jose, California. Really nice looking stall, continuing on their relentless pursuit for complete domination with stall count. And all V4 dispensers at that 48 stall in San Jose. San Jose is known for very high electric vehicle adoption. So I'm sure it'll be very heavily used, and I'm sure the Sizzler is going to go from moderately active to constantly having a troop of people going through there, because nothing will entice an EV driver more than the smell of steak wafting through the parking lot where they're charging. I know I'm susceptible to that. Also, sticking with the food theme, Sonic, a fast food restaurant, is opening a new fast food location in Vista, California. And it's seen, what Sonic does is there's kind of like a old style drive-in where you order your food from like a little kiosk underneath the canopy, and then someone brings your food out to you and you can eat it there at your car or continue on, kind of like a drive-through where someone brings your food to you. But 16 DC fast charger ports are now getting put into a Sonic in Vista, California as well. So I'm not sure if this is indication of just a single franchise owner putting them in, or if it's a broader approach with Sonic drive-in restaurants putting DC fast chargers in their locations. But it really makes sense, because if you're sitting there and eating some food underneath the canopy, might as well get some electrons. So it is a good way of selling additional services to your customers while they're on your property. So it makes good business sense, and it's also a terrific convenience for the people who are patroning those locations. So we'll have to keep our eye on that to see if it becomes something that starts catching on with Sonic nationwide. Nothing's nicer than getting a burger, shake, and some electrons while you're underneath the canopy. It's pretty nice. Electric Era continues to open stations as well. I mentioned them last week, but this time over outside of California, one in Camden, Delaware, south of Dover, and the other one in Northport, Florida, north of Fort Myers. So it's nice to see Electric Era, with their very fast spin-up times, are continuing to take that elsewhere throughout the United States. Finally, CPO Loop put a whole bunch of stations in the alternative fuel data center. Most of them were level 2. There was one like 36 stall at the Nashville Zoo in a parking garage that went in there that was all level 2, but there's also a whole bunch of DC fast chargers as well. And I suspect they just hadn't been adding anything to the alternative fuels data center database, and they decided to get with the program and assembled a large file that they sent over that was processed all at the same time. The nice thing is that the entries show what appear to be accurate open dates for each one of the stations. So the data does look to be pretty clean. So it's really nice to have Loop showing up to the party. Maybe in a future update. And actually, I reached out to Loop via LinkedIn to see if they would come on for an interview, and I did not get a response, but maybe in a future update we will. Thanks for watching.